Eternal God, we come this morning exceptionally appreciative of this day, realizing that we are benefactors of your grace and mercy. It is our humble request that your presence will be with us, that you will guide this municipality and its leadership as you have in days past. Hold us together in love and continue to mold us in the spirit of cooperation and common interests. Even in this conversation of diversity, equity, and inclusion, keep us mindful of your word, that whatsoever we do to the least of these your brothers, we have done unto you. In the name of him who declared, I am the bread of life, we pray. Amen.
Good morning, everybody. I'll move this up here if that's okay. Well, let's see if I can do that. Well, I'm happy to stand here today alongside faith leaders, our Chamber of Commerce, and many of our city's most important business leaders. I'm also excited to talk about something near and dear to my heart, something I talked about a lot during the campaign, and a vision that will remain constant during my administration: one Chattanooga. Because of our natural assets and our incredible people, Chattanooga really does have the potential to be the best city in America. But in order for that to happen, we must first tackle the most difficult topic in our shared history: the broad and persistent gaps between the fortunes and outcomes of our black and white neighbors, and the reasons for those gaps. It's a tough topic, but I know Chattanooga is ready to deal with it. These gaps are not only a moral problem, but an economic problem. By holding some of us back, we all fall behind. No less than the president and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, Raphael Bostic, said this summer that by limiting the economic and educational opportunities for a large number of Americans, institutionalized racism constrains this country's economic potential. The economic contributions of these Americans, in the form of work product and innovation, will be less than they otherwise could have been. Systemic racism is a yoke that drags on the American economy. Close quote. And we can put a dollar figure on it. Citigroup estimated that since 2000, the U.S. economy has lost $16 trillion in wealth and productivity because of discriminatory practices. That hurts all of us. The fact of the matter is that these persistent gaps in black and white outcomes in Chattanooga are not only unjust and immoral and wrong, they are expensive. The issue holding us back from collective economic prosperity is just this one. A people deprived of the opportunity to build wealth and advance their lives not only fall short of their potential to add to our collective wealth and store of human capital, but by perpetuating this system, we ultimately allow some of our neighbors to eventually sink into hopelessness and despair. And that abandonment of hope is at the root of crime and violence and decline. So look, these are not easy issues. And we've seen how the national dialogue around these issues can divide us more than it can bring us together. But here in Chattanooga, I know we can take a different path, and we will. How? Well, it starts with being open to learning and listening to each other, one at a time, to dissolve misconceptions and focus on our common purpose and our common fate as Chattanoogans. Chattanoogans know that when we decide something is important enough, we can set aside our differences to achieve great things. We have a sense of pride about this city and a sense of what we can achieve together. Building each other up to achieve more is in our DNA, even against the odds of an economic deck that is stacked against so many families. Today, we have a historic opportunity to lead the nation in racial reconciliation and begin to close these gaps by recognizing the damaging legacy of structural racism and taking a more intentional approach to creating opportunities for those Chattanoogans historically deprived of them. And it's important to recognize that although some of us are new to this work, the work is not new at all. We stand on the foundations of civil rights leaders whose determination, hope, and sacrifices allow us to be here today and carry that commitment forward. This commitment isn't something we should take lightly. Signing a pledge cannot be the end. We have to get to work. And as mayor, I feel a fierce sense of urgency for action and lasting change. From changing the systems and policies that keep some of our neighbors from reaching opportunity, to shifting the narrative about the stories we tell ourselves about poverty, economic mobility, and yes, racism. The uncomfortable fact is we cannot snap our fingers and erase the fact that from slavery through Jim Crow, from 1619 to the present, laws, policies, and practices were put in place meant to enforce white supremacy in this country. We can't erase over 350 years of cultural and economic damage overnight or pretend that these things never happened. They did happen. That isn't a political statement, it's a historical statement. And the echoes of that history are the reason we must do this work today. Equity is not a political term any more than racism is. Equity simply acknowledges this history and calls us to invest in communities that for too long have been left behind and to lift up our neighbors so that all of us have a shot at opportunity and to achieve their full potential. These are Chattanoogan values, regardless of political party or the color of our skin. Together, we can put down that yoke and realize a city where opportunity is afforded to every Chattanoogan, black, white, or otherwise, and where our entire city can thrive and prosper. Today, thanks to decades of work by local civil rights leaders, the boldness of our business community, and the leadership of our Chamber of Commerce, we've taken an important step. Now let's get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly. Thank you, Pastor Reid. This is such an exciting day, and we appreciate everyone joining us today. Today is the official launch of the Racial Equity Pledge. So we encourage the community, those CEOs, decision makers, owners, key leaders of institutions here in the community to take a look at the pledge and come join us on this important body of work. Thank you all. So I'm excited to have us highlight a few of the business leaders who have come alongside of us in terms of this pledge work. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Rick McKinney. He is the CEO of Unum. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Mayor. It's good to be here today. I agree with Christy. This is a very important day. We go through this. If you look at the last couple of years, I've been really pleased. The CEOs of this community have come together on a number of fronts so that we can work collectively for the continued betterment of the city, and we continue to do that. So I'm very pleased to be joined by a number of these CEOs today that represent large employers, but also certainly Chattanooga's thought leaders as we continue to drive the city forward. You know, when you think about Unum, we have about 2,800 employees here in Chattanooga. We hired over 100 so far this year, and so for us to continue to be able to do that, we need to make sure that we are operating in a city that's not only able to attract people from all over this country, but also be able to retain them. People feel that they're included, and so we've had a real focus over the last several years about inclusion and inclusivity in our workplace today, and I think this pledge goes very much along with that inclusivity. It's so important to our company and to our city. So we also last year started the Social Justice Fund. We donated $500,000 to important causes in the area. A couple of the recipients in the last year you would know, certainly the Boys and Girls Club, the Urban League, as well as Arts Builder, things that we think are important to continue to support our city. So very happy to be here today. As Christy said, I think any one company or any one organization cannot move this forward. We have to come together collectively, and been very proud to be part of a CEO collective that thinks that this is very important, and we are all willing to sign our names on a pledge that we think is very important to continuing to move the city forward. So I'd like to turn it over to another CEO, Chanda Chambers, who will join us for her comments. Okay.
Thank you very much. I want to say I'm part of the diversity of this city. I own a welding business, which is in a male-populated field. And one of the things that I wanted to do, the reason I took the pledge, is because I wanted to see more people that look like me in my profession. I think it's important that as we sit here and we take this pledge, black, white, Asian, Indian, that we look at our own staff and we make the decision, are we ourselves being diverse? And when I say diversity, I'm not just saying skin color. disabled, veterans. There's so many that we need to look upon and make sure that we're making room for them to sit at the table. I was given that opportunity, and it is my pledge to give it to others. Thank y'all for having me.
Good morning. I'm Paul Leith. I'm the Regional Director of Operations for Chattanooga Gas and Vice Chair of Economic Development for the Chattanooga Chamber. It's my honor today to represent Pedro Cherry, the CEO of Chattanooga Gas. We're also very proud today to be here in support of the Racial Equity Pledge, which we signed because it reflects our corporate values. Chattanooga Gas and Southern Company Gas believe racial equity enhances our ability to deliver superior results to our customers, our employees, and our shareholders. We promote inclusiveness both in our workplace and our ways of thinking so that all employees feel valued and respected in their contribution to our company. We define diversity not just as race or gender, but also as the differences, for example, in backgrounds, experiences, perspectives, ideas of our employees. We believe diversity is an asset that creates great value. The more diversity an organization possesses, the greater its ability to innovate, to grow, and to compete. Chattanooga Gas has a very diverse workforce that reflects the communities we're so blessed to serve. The Southern Company Gas CEO, the Chattanooga Gas CEO, and our Vice President of Operations all reflect Southern Company's commitment to racial equity. We're very proud of the Chattanooga Gas leadership team, which is comprised of 57% diverse employees, and our field employees are 50% diverse employees. But we can do more, and we're committed to increasing our supplier diversity to 30% for all Southern Company Gas utilities. We appreciate the leadership of our local elected officials and the Chamber of Commerce for bringing us together today. And we look forward to collaborating with them to expand opportunity and to work toward greater racial equality in Chattanooga. Thank you. I would like to welcome Eric Fuller, President and CEO of U.S. Express. Eric.
Thank you. U.S. Express has about 2,000 employees in the local community, and we have about 10,000 nationwide. And we have announced publicly that we intend on doubling our company in 4 years. And in order to do that, the majority of that growth is going to come here in Chattanooga. And we know that in order to accomplish our goals, we have to attract the right talent. And that talent needs to be diverse and inclusive. And that means, and that means that a workforce that is highly diverse and inclusive for all. And for that reason, we started a Diversity and Inclusion Council last year to focus on how we as a company can move forward with attracting and retaining the workforce of the future. We have a major undertaking in front of us, and it requires all constituents to push in the same direction. Far too often, the business community loses locally raised, talented individuals of color to other communities because of the perceived lack of opportunities, support, and discrimination within the community. We also struggle to attract talent to move to Chattanooga because of a lack of diverse, supportive environment. This isn't a political discussion. It's one about the future of our local business community and economy. We have to support economic and education mobility for all in the community. U.S. Express is committed to racial equality. While we still have a long way to go, we are making strides towards becoming a more inclusive workplace. And I ask that the entire business community work towards this goal together. In order to compete in a global economy, a community like Chattanooga has to compete directly with other large communities And because of our size, we all have to work together. And that means creating environments where everyone feels safe, supported, and given equal opportunities. Thank you. And now I will introduce Janelle Reilly, CEO of CHI Memorial.
Thank you. By signing the Chamber's CEO Equity Pledge on behalf of the CHI Memorial Organization, I am committing that we will work with the Chamber and other businesses to advance economic prosperity for all. This is one of the top 5 priorities that emerged from the Velocity 2040 community visioning work. As a healthcare provider, we believe that health and economic prosperity are deeply interconnected. Our part to play is to improve the health status of our community. To do this, we must address health disparities. The health disparities that exist in every community in America were especially highlighted during the COVID-19 pandemic. These disparities did not emerge because of COVID. They are caused by underlying socioeconomic factors like inadequate food and nutrition, poor substandard housing, unsafe neighborhoods, lack of quality education. In healthcare, we call these the social determinants of health. A health divide happens when a loved one cannot afford a bus fare, much less a life-saving surgery. It happens when neighborhoods do not have access to healthy food. It happens when a taxi will not drive down a street because of fear, so a friend does not have transportation to the doctor and her high blood pressure goes unmanaged. It happens when a woman nods her head politely because of language barriers, but really don't understand the serious consequences of taking the medications. It happens when a man refuses to seek critical care because he does not trust the hospital or the physician office because no one there looks like him. It happens every day in every city. It happens. By working to eliminate social determinants, we can lower the number of hospitalizations and readmission rates and achieve higher quality outcomes that will lower healthcare costs for individuals and businesses and improve the overall health of the community. One way we are addressing these disparities is through a partnership with the Morehouse Medical School. Through this partnership, CHI Memorial will soon welcome 4th-year medical students to complete their training and help increase the number of Black physicians in healthcare and in our community. Research shows a higher number of minority physicians serving the community positively impacts the health of the minority and underserved populations. Another way is by participating in a chamber-organized process. This initiative, funded by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Tennessee, will allow a diverse group of healthcare providers and community organizations to create a comprehensive healthcare sector needs assessment. The result will be a regional strategy to address social determinants of health, allowing us to improve health equity and to drive economic vitality for all. Addressing equity issues in all sectors of our economy is a strategic imperative for our region. We believe if every individual and organization does their part to address inequities in the workplace, in our neighborhoods, and in our community, then prosperity for all will be possible. Thank you. Now I'd like to turn it back over to Christy.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much to our speakers, Pastor Reid, thanks for being with us, Mayor Kelly, Chanda, thank you so much, Rick, Paul, Eric, Janelle. As you can see, we have supporters with us here today. We have many in the audience, many out there. And we've had a soft launch of our pledge so far. And now we're excited today to fully launch the Racial Equity Pledge. And we invite CEOs, owners, executive directors, managing partners, please check out the Racial Equity Pledge and join us in this journey. For as you heard our speakers talk about today, this takes all of us working together, partnering together as a community in order to advance us. We have to be globally competitive. And in order for us as a chamber to do our job, to lure companies here, to keep our amazing companies we already have here and prospering, we must work on this work. And talent is such a significant challenge in our community and throughout the country. And those communities that are excelling are building inclusive environments for all. This is critical work for us. We're so happy to have you partnering with us. We thank you all for being here today. And to our media friends, we'll be available here to the side of the podium for questions following the program. So again, thank you all for being here today. Let's get those pledges signed. Thanks.